Hey, what's up, guys? This is day 2, video 2. Um, I got some news for you guys here that I was hoping that I wouldn't start off 2013 with this, considering that my post yesterday was about I'm going to post a video a day, things are going to be great. In my mind, I was thinking that I was certainly going to post a lot of videos about exercise and technique and all this stuff, and show you guys all the stuff that I use in the gym with my clients. And then I go out and play flag football on New Year's Day and pull my hamstring within 20 minutes. Of course, this is teaching me a lot about putting into practice a lot of the things that I tell my clients. And one of those things is warming up and making sure that if something feels a little bit odd before you move, like if certain muscles feel tight, or if just something doesn't feel right, it's probably not best to go out and push the weight or go fast, go hard, because whatever that little issue is when you're not moving is going to be 10 times worse when you are moving. And that's actually what I ended up doing. I went out there to play football, just showed up, put my cleats on. It was pretty cold outside. I could already feel tight because I hadn't really been moving that whole morning. Then go out there, and whatever tightness I had was just pushed to the limit, and I was sprinting, pushing as hard as I could, and then boop, there goes my hamstring. I felt it was almost like a 3-stage kind of cramp, this pull going down the back of my leg. Riley, hey, Riley, chill out. Come here. Get over here. Hey, what are you doing? Chill out. Riley's acting like a tough guy right now. But anyway, yeah, so pull my hamstring, and so I went through the whole list of things, the whole rice. But actually, they added a P onto the front of that whole thing, so it's PRICE, the acronym, protection, rest, ice, compression, and elevation in terms of how to deal with injury. So I followed each of those things. So the first thing, it makes it easy to protect your hamstring, because I might as well have had like a peg leg, because I was limping around on this thing, and so the protection came from just the pain and tightness that I was already feeling. So the protection was kind of built into my system, so to speak. So I was not moving around very well. And it definitely wasn't something that I felt was, I could just have to stretch it out or, massage it and work this thing out. I was done. And when you do have an injury like that, a tear, it's like almost taking a rubber band that's slightly torn and going, maybe if I stretch it, it'll feel better. No, it's already torn. You're going to make it worse. So at that point, once you've identified, Riley, don't go anywhere. Once you've identified that it most likely is a pull, it's not good to try to stretch it. I mean, this was my leg just seized up on me, so it was best just to protect it. The next thing was, certainly if there's a lot of pain, that there's injury, rest it, and that's what I tried to do. Even sitting down on the ground was really hard to get any sort of stretch, and my hamstring was pretty painful. Then after that, I iced it a little bit, up until the point where I didn't feel the coldness of the ice. Essentially, your body, after a certain point, tries to heat itself back up. So that's probably a good point to stop icing, is that once your body stops feeling the cold, to shift so your body doesn't then try to heat itself back up, which will get the blood flow back in. And you certainly want some of the inflammation to help with the healing process, but I pretty much just used the ice to kind of numb the area, reduce some of the pain that I was feeling. I didn't really use too much compression, as we're kind of working down the list of protection, rest, ice. The compression part was essentially just the pressure of the ice up into my leg as I was putting my leg down on the ice pack. And then the elevation, certainly you just want to reduce the blood flow to that area first of all. And that worked pretty well for me. This is going to be an interesting process. So these videos are going to take a slightly different turn than what I anticipated. But the cool thing is now you'll be along the journey of a trainer who doesn't listen to anything he tells his clients to do. No, you'll get to follow me as I'm trying to deal with this and kind of the creative ways that I can still exercise and deal with the recovery process at the same time. So stay tuned for more, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.